This episode of A Hero's Journey podcast is brought to you by SMP Inc. right here in Las Vegas. And you can find SMP Inc. in San Francisco, Seattle, now in Arizona as well. And also, JPS Computers out of Oregon. Jesse and Alex, thank you so much for taking care of me. And my newest sponsor, Red Rock Harley Davidson, everybody. Red Rock Harley Davidson right here in Las Vegas. They gave me a home when there wasn't one for this guy who is an entertainer. And so thank you again, Red Rock Harley Davidson. This is a Hero's Journey podcast. And this podcast, Chase, I actually started this thing because we wake up the hero of our own story. It's how we want to attack the day, how we want to attack the weeks, the months, the coming years, chasing a dream, and those kinds of things. My guest today is somebody who does that. I mean, I met him, and he's one... I couldn't believe it. This guy was so kind, so sweet. He's such a nice guy. But what he does for a living, he's out to hurt you. And Chase, I can't introduce him any better than this guy. Let's let Bruce Buffer introduce our next guest.
Out of Las Vegas, Nevada, by way of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Oh yeah, the Jamaican Sensation, Osbourne.
Yeah, buddy. Ode Osbourne, the Jamaican Sensation.
Oh, man. Thank you so much. You even got the ninja staff.
Yeah, I did.
That's awesome. Do you know why I do the...
I was going to ask you that. I couldn't wait. I wanted to ask you off the air, and I'm like, no, we have to talk about that.
So the ninja staff, there's a story behind the ninja staff. You and like only a few people know about this. I just recently shared it on Twitter because I was like, you know what? I'll tell people, but I don't know. I only have like 5,000 people that follow me.
Only 5,000. Yeah.
Compared to like, you know, these people in the UFC and stuff like that, or champions that got millions of followers. 5,000 is like a rice grain.
That's coming, bro. Okay.
It'll get there. It'll get
You're
there.
in the UFC.
I'm grateful
okay?
I'm grateful for my 5,000 followers.
Yeah.
They're loyal. You know
they
what
are.
I mean? They know who I am, and I love that. But yeah, the story behind the ninja staff. So my ancestors from Jamaica. I'm Jamaican. I was born in Kingston, Jamaica. I came to the United States when I was 9 years old. My ancestors from Jamaica, there was a tribe called the Maroons. And their job, they had a treaty with the British. And their job was to capture runaway slaves and bring them back. And they felt like they were doing, the Maroons that were Jamaican, they felt like they were doing their people a disservice. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they didn't feel comfortable with all of that, and you know, all the punishment that they were, you know, being given. You know, so what they did, there was a guy named Captain Cujo. He was the captain or the lead commander of the Maroons, and him and his brother diverged a plan, and they would go in the middle of the night. They would camouflage their face and paint their body and go in the middle of the night and free slaves from the plantation. And they would do that every night. You know, they would do their face paint, and you know what I mean, kind of like ninjas. Yeah,
right.
like ninjas.
Right.
And they would actually sometimes have to kill the British soldiers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so they would do that, and I thought that was amazing. And so in honor of Captain Cujo, I do, you know, the ninja staff. You know what I'm saying?
Wow. There you go. I love it. It was my first time getting to see you. I went to the Apex.
Yeah.
Now it'll be like 10 or 11 days ago that you fought.
Yeah.
And I was supposed to be out on tour. I was supposed to be gone, and weather shut that down. Mm-hmm. And every time I'd see you in here, because you have your own podcast. What's it called?
It's called Wagwan.
Wagwan. What's that mean, by the way?
Wagwan. So it's Patois. Jamaica, we have our own language called Patois.
Okay.
And Wagwan is like, what's going on? So if you ever go to Jamaica or you meet Jamaicans, they'll be like, Wagwan, brethren. Wagwan. It means like, what's going on?
Nice.
Go on.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. Well done. And so anyway, back to, you know, and so go check out Ode's Wagwan podcast, and he's killing it. Like, he started it not too long ago, and it's just blowing up. Like, you get thousands of views on things, and the fighters, you're getting Misha Tate on as your next guest.
Yep.
So
just had
you got to go check it out. Oh, really?
Yeah, the UFC champion Jamal Hill, just had him last week. on
Oh,
there. So
amazing.
I'm just blessed, man. Just to have, honestly, like, I don't deserve any of this, and I say that with a grain of salt, meaning, we've become a society that thinks we deserve everything.
Right.
So I keep myself humble by being like, I don't deserve any of this, man. I'm just grateful. Honestly, I'm grateful because when I came to this country, I didn't have shit. I had nothing. Literally didn't have hot water until I was 9 years old. When I came to the United States, I had first time experiencing hot water. I took a bath for like 3 hours. I was 9 years old. I was like, this is amazing. Tub. We didn't have no tub. You know what I mean?
What a story, dude.
So I'm grateful, man. I'm really just grateful for everything, for all of this,
Good for you. And for the Rock Rage Radio listeners out there, I have Ode Osbourne, the Jamaican Sensation right now. He's on the show. We got listeners that are all over the world. Rock Rage Radio gets 20 million listeners a month at minimum. And this show is on every Monday night. So what's really cool is I got to go to your fight. I got to watch you walk out. And I'm going to have you take me back to prepping for a fight like this. But you walked out and you were so calm.
Yeah.
So tell me what's going through your head, because even your music, what was the song that you walked out to?
I walked out to Level Up.
Okay.
Because, I had just entered a new camp with new coaches. You know what I mean?
That coach is amazing.
Yes.
I watched you on the 24-hour podcast with the
Dewey.
Action Junkies.
Yes.
Yeah, Dewey. What a legend.
Yes.
That dude is a legend.
Yes.
He himself is a legend, and he has
Yes.
trained guys who have become champions before MMA was MMA.
Francis Ngannou was the greatest, heavyweight of all time. He trained Francis.
Wow.
To be the greatest.
Chuck Liddell was somebody he helped on his way, and it was just really cool to see that. So you're leveling up,
Yes.
basically, is what you're saying.
Of course, I've never ran before any fight. I wrestled in my whole life. Didn't run for wrestling, not because I'm lazy or anything. I just didn't have a coach that told me I needed to run or made me run, so I didn't run. And Dewey was like, "You've never ran before." This guy's a world champion. That's all he's been doing. He's like, not only am I gonna have you run, but we're gonna have you run Mount Charleston.
I saw that. I follow you on social media, dude.
Yeah.
There was snow on the ground, and you were taking the mountain like you were damn Rocky. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was intense.
Yeah, and he has, Dewey is one of those guys. He has a system. Everything he does is for a purpose. Every single thing. There's nothing random that he does. Everything, because he did it all. You know what I mean? He went to Thailand, fought in Thailand. He's fought all over the world. He himself was a world champion. He journaled everything, all of his feelings, how he felt. So, everything he did, he can go back to. So we started out with a small mountain first. You know what I mean? Probably like a 3-mile run. And I was like, man, this is, whew. First we started on flat trail.
Right, okay.
The first time we ran flat trail. And that I thought was so hard because I've never really ran before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But he's adamant about, dude, you're an explosive athlete. You need to have good cardio. And in order to have good cardio, we got to run. And it's not just about your athleticism and the physicality of it. It's about the mental. Running is hard mentally. You know what I mean? It's not a physical thing. It's a mental thing.
Because you want to stop.
Yes.
You want, and your body is saying, no, I can keep going. But your mind is saying, no, let's just stop.
Exactly. And so, I've conquered crazier things in my life. But man, every week leading up to my fight, he would just go higher and higher and higher, take me to a new mountain every week. And then the 2 weeks before my fight, he took me to a week before my fight, the final mountain, which was Mount Charleston, and 6 miles running up the mountain. And man, I've never had to face so many demons, for my first run up Mount Charleston, because you're running up the mountain and, in Vegas, it's like 60, but up in Mount Charleston, it's like 30.
It's cold, yeah.
30 degrees, high elevation. Your lungs are burning. You feel your breath.
Cold.
Oh, man. And then the demons came out, and they're like, hey, it's me again. Remember when you were a kid and this happened to you? Yeah. Remember when you got let down all those times? It's better for you to just quit now, so that way you won't have to be let down. So if you let yourself down now, it's gonna be easier for you later on. So just stop. It's okay. Just stop. And Dewey was right, because he told me in my fight, I'm going to have to face demons like that. And the only way to plan for those demons in your fight is you have to make demo, almost mock demons to beat the real demon. It's like a video game, you know what I mean? You fight
You've been there before.
Yes.
You've already done this.
Yes.
He put you through that.
Yes.
I watched you in that fight, but watching you walk into the ring, you were so calm.
I was.
And it was tough for me. I have video, and Chase is going to run some of this video as we're talking. I have video that I took myself, and I think I was the loudest guy in the room. I was so loud screaming for you that the people in front of me were turning around. Seriously. But you walked in calm.
Mm-hmm.
And what's that like, knowing that you're going to walk into... Now, we know the work that you changed your regiment and how you did it, but now you're walking into a room... I walk out to a stage in front of thousands of people, and the worst thing that can happen is I forget a lyric or whatever, but you're stepping into a ring with somebody who wants to hurt you.
Yeah, well, when you know you've done the work, I checked every single box leading up to that fight. Every single box, you know, everything. Dewey was like, you can't have sex. He's like, you can't drink. You can't, you know, do this, that, other thing. You got to do your mountain runs. You got, you know what I mean? I checked every single box. So when you know you check every box, it's a spiritual thing at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Think about this. As a human being, we are just a flesh and bone. We're just a vessel. You know what I'm saying? Inside of us is our spirit. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's internal. Inside of us is our spirit. You have to let your spirit take over and let it do its thing. You know what I mean? That's how your reflexes work. Otherwise, you're fighting against your reflexes. So the calmer you are, the better you'll be, because you have to let your you can't fight all the traumas that you've been through in your entire life, because they will come out.
Right.
You just got to let go and let it, you know what I'm saying? Let it do its thing. Because I'm a big believer in God, and I believe that, you know, there's no, I'm going to win. If I'm going to win, it's already written. If I'm going to lose, it's already written. There's no point of me even trying to fight it. So that is why I walk out so calm.
The difference between you and him, and I don't know him, okay? And I was biased too. You're my friend.
Yeah.
You know? And so going into it, I'm watching my friend enter the ring, and you were calm. There was this thing about you. There was one moment, like I said, where you did your signature move before the fight. Now we talked about, but he came off so cocky, so like
arrogant.
He had this I am the man, and I was told, wow, you know, backstage, I was in the backstage area, and they're telling me, oh, your friend's Ode. Yeah. Oh, wow, he's fighting somebody who's
Charles Johnson.
He's a real badass. That dude is a badass. And I'm like, oh, great. Thanks. You know, I appreciate that. I didn't think about that. I only thought about you, my friend who I've been watching and putting in all of this work. Like normally I can come into the podcast studio. Chase and I see you constantly. We didn't see you that often because it was all about the work.
Yes.
You put in the work for this fight.
I did.
And to see you in there facing this guy, and you know, you had, your hair was on point. You looked like you had just dropped like 15, 20 pounds that you didn't look like you had to lose. Like, what's your walk around weight? What do you walk around at?
Like 148.
Okay. And you fought at 130.
130, but usually it's at 25.
Whoa.
Yeah, usually it's a catch weight, but usually I fight at 25. But the fight night, I probably weighed about 139, 140.
But in weigh-ins, you...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like 125. Or that last one was a catch weight, they call it, 130.
Okay.
So a catch weight is when one guy asks, so he asked for 5 pounds.
Okay.
And if I say no, then he has to make 25.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But
so he was the one who had to...
Yeah.
Wow. So you even gave him 5 pounds.
I did. I gave him 5 pounds. And you know what I mean? I'm like, all right, I want you at your best because I know he's good. You know what I mean?
Bro, and so here was the thing. Round one, you go into this fight, and again, I don't care. You can throw up some more of these videos. It's just from my phone. But round one, take me through a little bit of what's going on with you in round 1, if you remember this.
I do.
Because you had gone, take me through this, because it's 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And what the greatest thing about this thing was, it was literally like watching a movie. And it really was.
Yeah.
Because there was no going to the ground. You guys were fighting.
Yeah, we
so,
were.
So walk me through it a little bit, if you remember this.
Well, I knew he was an Olympic marathon runner, like in the Olympics. So I knew he had the cardio and he had the athleticism, he had the endurance. He'd only lost 3 fights in his entire life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I knew he was legit. I knew he was really good. But certain things I know I'm really good at. Like my kicks, they're thunderous and they're fast. Doesn't matter how good you are, doesn't matter what you do.
I could hear him from where I was sitting. I was like, damn. Go ahead. Yeah.
And he moves a lot, right?
Yeah.
So my strategy was, okay, slow him down, chop his legs down, or break them. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So if a person has no legs, they can't move.
Right.
You know what I mean? Eventually they get slower and slower. And it's called chinking away at the armor. It's a long game. It's a game of chess, right? You start chopping somebody's legs down early in the round. That 3rd round, they can't move as well. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like being in quicksand. So I knew he was a good fighter and it'll probably go the distance. So I was planning ahead for the 3rd round. So I had to put in the work in the 1st round on his legs. So I put in, I don't even know how many leg kicks. I was chopping his legs down. Just boom, 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 boom. Chopping his body. Boom, boom,
You were
boom,
catching his kicks.
Yeah, I was.
Like every kick he threw you, or it came at you, you caught it.
I grabbed it with my hand.
Yeah.
Grabbed it with my hand because I wanted to impose my will. Because his confidence.
Oh, it was like,
Yes.
his confidence was like spilling over in the room.
It was
I don't know
amazing.
how he got through the damn door.
It was amazing.
He had so much confidence walking out.
And that's why he's so good. You know
Right.
what I mean? Same with Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
Conor McGregor is probably, he's an average fighter. But because his confidence is so incredible, it makes him a great fighter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I get it.
And this fighter was the same way. But you have to break them slowly. You know what I mean? So catching his kick was just like I would catch his kick in my hand and I would look at him in the eye. You know what I mean? And slowly but surely, his confidence went from a 10 to a 9.5 each
Right.
kick. Then it went to an 8. Then it went to an 8.5. Then it went to a 7. You know what I mean? Then a
Yeah.
6. Then a 5. Then a 4. You know, each time I caught his leg.
Oh, through the whole fight. I don't care how long this went. So what round was it that, I mean, he kicked you, you got fingered in the eye. What round was that?
That was in the 3rd round.
Okay, because it was in the 2nd round that you got kicked right in the nuts.
Yeah, beginning of the 2nd.
Wow.
Right in the beginning of the 2nd.
And I was screaming out, don't get up. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
don't get up.
Yeah.
You know, like they're giving you 5 minutes.
And-
Take the 5 minutes.
And by the grace of God, it happened right in front of my corner, in front of Dewey Cooper. And he's like, take your 5 minutes. You know, don't be a hero. You know
they're
what I'm
not
saying?
allowed to coach, though, right?
No, they're not allowed to coach. They're not allowed to. So he was just like, you got 2 minutes left. The ref was like,
I saw you bouncing
Yeah.
around. You know, and
the ref was like, the ref was like, you can't coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm not coaching. I'm just saying there's 2 minutes left.
Dude. Oh, but you know, your ego is going to make you get up. You're going to
Yeah.
want to get up
And
sooner than later going, no, I'm not, you know, I
Yeah.
got this.
And I wanted to. And you know, Dewey and Jason was like, no. He's like, take your 5 if you need it. Take your
Right.
5. And I was like, all right. You know what, O'Day? You've been through this before. And ego has gotten you nowhere.
There was
Like,
somebody else out on the other side yelling out, take it, stay down. Like, and it was like, he looked like a fighter.
Yeah.
Like yelling out to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Aljamain Sterling, the UFC champion, was there.
Oh, okay.
He's also Jamaican, good friend of mine.
He was sitting in front of me.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That guy was sitting in front of me.
Good.
He was, you know, on the
Yeah.
edge of his seat. Like
Yeah.
people were trying to talk to him, and he's like, nah. Like when you were fighting, he was all about watching you.
Man,
so,
Aljamain
yeah.
is a great guy, man. I
Yeah.
love that guy. Him, and his best friend Marab, also a good friend of mine. He's fighting this week. They were both there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was, you know, when that happened, it was like, it's crazy because when that happened, I was even having a conversation with the commentator, you know, from where I
saw
was.
you.
But that showed how comfortable I was. I was like, this is my stage. He's only had 3 fights in the UFC. I've had 7. You know what I mean? I'm
Right.
like, this is my stage. It showed me how comfortable I was in
Right.
You know what I mean? To be able to just have a conversation with a commentator.
You have to be on the big stage to know that and understand that. Exactly.
Yes.
And there's now, before I get to my next question, we go into the third round, and it's like there's a couple of moments I remember. It's like he was going to try and take you down because you were catching every kick. You were getting everything off on him, and I'm like, okay, he's got this. You know, O'Day's got this, and it was just fun to watch. So round 3 was a nail biter, though. You know what I'm saying? Round 3 was because you were exhausted. I have video of you. I ran down, you know, with your girl, with John and Vanessa and Nicole, and we all ran down to shake your hand and give you a hug as you passed by us. And I don't even know if you knew we were all there. You were just exhausted. Your right eye, we find out, is what happened to your right eye?
Yeah, so 2 things. I took a thumb and he scratched my cornea, and the same time where he scratched my cornea, his knuckle cut me. The same exchange. It was like one of these. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there was a moment where I was like, man, I can't see out of this eye. But it was the 3rd round, and I knew he was breaking. You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, he's breaking. I can't let the ref know that my eye's messed up, or he might, you know, do a pause and, you know what I mean, wash it out and do what they do. You know what I'm saying? And then resume. But had he paused it to wash my eye out and resumed, he would have got a chance to rest.
Exactly.
And at this point, I'd already given every fiber of my being to this fight, and I can't even lift my hands at this point.
Right.
I can't even lift my feet. You know what I'm saying? It was like, it's the craziest thing where I felt like I couldn't even open my eyes. I couldn't even raise my fingertips. I don't even know how I was fighting.
You were, though.
But you know what?
That was awesome.
But you know what? Those trials and tribulations of running those mountains, you know what I'm saying? That spiritual moment that we were talking about in the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
How your spirit takes over. That is why it's so important to be calm. Because when you're in the midst of the fire, you have to just let go and let your spirit take over. It's almost like an outer body experience where you're not even doing anything anymore. Your body's just doing everything on its own, and you're just in, you know, you're in just like hyperdrive, and your body's like, dude, I have nothing left to give.
And also muscle memory. You have trained so hard to know that these are the things you're doing.
Yes.
This is what I'm doing. And that's amazing.
And I saw a small window when I grabbed him. I remember thinking like, holy shit, this guy's not that strong. I'm stronger than him. You know what I mean?
Right.
He was like elusive.
Right.
But I remember being like, oh man, I'm stronger than this guy. Like I grabbed him and I was like, all right, I see a path to victory here. I'm gonna take him down. Because I remember I was like, oh, it's gonna come. It is going to come. Because when you've done it so many times, you can feel if someone is really, if you're stronger than somebody.
Yeah, of course.
And I felt, and I grabbed his leg. I was like, oh, I feel like there's a path. And I don't even know how I was able to muster up the energy to take him down when I was so exhausted. But I did it anyways.
We erupted. You took him to the ground, and the place erupted. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that whole side, we were screaming. To watch you do that, dude, and to know that you put in all that work, like I said, full blown. You had nothing left, totally gassed,
and it was against a guy the UFC was building up. You know
right? I know that, and that's what I heard that backstage, and it.
Yeah, so that's when I'm like, anytime you have a guy that the UFC is building up, you can't make the fights close. You know what I'm saying? No. You have to make sure that it's a definitive win. So I knew I need a takedown to seal this because he's one of those guys. You know what I'm saying? And I agree with that because I believe if you are the champion and the fight is close, the fight should always go to the champion.
Right.
If you are the favorite and the fight is close, the fight should always go to the favorite.
Right.
Because I believe that your time will come. And someday, maybe I will be the favorite or the champion. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I can feel it. I watched you, and I watched you put in this work.
Yeah.
Now, we all did here. Huh, Chase?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
yes, sir.
Yeah, we've all watched you put in this work, and it's been incredible. So we get to, and I should have had this video cued, but when they called your name, like you were so tired. He's raising your arm.
Yeah.
And they didn't even do a post interview. They didn't even interview you.
I don't think they could, man. They knew. They saw. They knew that the interview wouldn't have. I had nothing left to give.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
You left it in the ring. That's what. How many times do you say, I'm going to leave it on the stage, or I'm going to leave it in this moment? And you were present. You were all there that night, and we all got to witness that and watch that. John and Vanessa and Nicole and I were just your girl. She was in tears. Dewey cried walking past us.
Yeah.
And your coach, who's, like you said, you're new to this camp, and you believed everything that he said. You drank that Kool-Aid and believed it.
Amongst every time I faced adversity in my camp, Dewey would say, I know we've been running the mountains. I know your legs are killing you, but you have to spar today. We have to go hard today. It's not about what you feel. It's about how you do. You know what I'm saying? He would always say that. It's not about how you feel. It's how you do. It's not about how you feel. It's how you do. And in my fight, I'm like, remembering Dewey's sayings like, oh, man, I can't go anymore. The same demons came up like, O'Day, quit. Remember as a child? Yeah. Remember when you would get excited for something and you get let down over and over and over again? The demons in my fight was like, dude, just quit now, because if you let yourself down now, it's easier now than if someone lets you down later on in life. So it's okay. Just let yourself down so you can handle the ease now.
Wow.
And I remember those during my runs, and I was like, nah, not today. I was like, not today.
That's amazing. My son is going to be so inspired by this episode. I'm not lying. My son, Josh, I know you're going to be watching this. I'm talking directly to you. When you come to Vegas, I'm going to introduce you to my friend O'Day, because my son, Josh, was not athletic at all. He moved to Florida to be with his son, and be out there, be close to his son. And he said, Dad, I gotta be a better version of myself. This came out of watching a Hero's Journey podcast. He started binge watching my show and the guests that I had on. So he had already started taking jujitsu. My son was like 270, 280, right? And he's like, I need to do something for myself to be a better version for my son. Okay. All of a sudden he calls me and he's like, Dad, you inspired me. I have lost over 75 pounds. I've taken up running. I go to the gym. I do my workouts. He's been taking these tests and getting belts. Then he called me last week, and there was a cancer run that just happened. It was a marathon, and there was 4 options of 3K or whatever, 5K, 50, half a marathon or a marathon. He did the marathon, and he said there was something about what people said on your show, and that whole, just what you said today is exactly what he says to me. And I didn't, that whole, my body can do it. Yeah. It's me. It's my mind telling me I'm done, and I can't allow that to happen. And I was like, you ran a whole marathon? You didn't even train for it. Yeah. And he goes, I've been training for these other things, and I saw it and just said, why not? I'm gonna do this. And he completed the whole thing. I was blown away. And this was just last week. I was so proud of him. And so, Josh, I'm proud of you publicly. I love you. And O'Day it's so inspiring, like what you've done. And now,
can't wait to meet you, man.
Man, the fight now is over. We went to dinner that night, and you had just come back from the doctor. They, found out certain things that were, cornea, exactly. And just total fatigue that you had, gone through. You just exhausted. And I'm like, there's no way he's coming to dinner. And you still did. And we celebrated, your victory. But we talked off the air. There's this, you train really hard for something that's in front of you. And by the way, a champion, you gave the guy 5 pounds. Yeah. And the guy had an edge on you. You could have, if he didn't make weight, there's no fight, there's no payday. You don't get to go into the ring.
Well, not necessarily. If he doesn't make weight, I get 20% of his earnings.
Really?
Yes, I get 20% of his earnings. I could choose not to fight, but I usually say, yeah, I'm gonna fight.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that you did that.
Yeah, because I'd way rather have, when he asked for it, I'd way rather have him make weight than something happens where he gets sick or he can't fight anymore. So I'm like, you know what? I said this to him in the UFC PI when he was getting physical therapy. They're usually not allowed. So someone kind of dropped the ball a little bit, and which is fine. And they scheduled my appointment to do physical therapy and his appointment in the same room.
Wow, two guys that are fighting each other.
During the same week. And you know what I mean? This person who I feel bad for because she got a lot of heat from the UFC staff and stuff like that. But it happens. I don't care. I talked to him that week. I was like, hey man, you know, I hope the weight cut goes good. And he's like, yeah, thank you for the 5 pounds. And I looked at him and I said, yeah, man, you know, I want you at your best. You know?
Wow.
I want you at your best.
That's a champion, dude. That's how that is. You know you've earned it then.
Mm-hmm.
That's that's the thing. So again, we talked about this off the air. Like, I know what it's like to come off a tour. You work so hard to get ready for it. You go out on the tour and all these things are happening. And then the smoke clears and there's this like, okay, what next?
Yeah.
You're waiting for the next thing. And there's I don't want to say it's depression, but there is a little bit of depression that sets in. Like, you almost don't want to come out of your room for a couple of days.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought that up because fans have no idea about that. Every fighter experiences the crash after they go through like that mental, you know, cutting weights, making weights, the media stuff that you have to do before, and then the media stuff you have to do after, and then you just come down so hard and you get like slingshotted into depression. You know what I'm saying?
You do.
It's like a crazy, like when the high goes boom and you get slingshot right to depression, and you're just like, oh man, your brain just is done for. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not only that, but after, you know, you pay your manager, you pay your coaches, you pay all the people that helped you with physical therapy, strength and conditioning, and all the people that was a part of your camp, which I am grateful to pay all those people. That's a blessing. You know what I mean? But after all those expenses come out, you're like, man, like this is like half my check. Right. And then, you know, you don't fight for another three weeks. So you have to make that work until you get to like your 5th contract. Then you could be good. You know what I'm saying? You can be kind of like, all right, but you know what I mean? But now you're like, man, okay, I have to take another fight within this amount of time.
Yes.
Or the well runs dry.
Exactly.
You know
you have to. The hype is there. We're all freaking out. You know, you're Ode to us, but you're Ode who just won at UFC a week ago, and you know, now we're all, it's like, oh, Ode's here, you know, like it's awesome. But that's the same way, like the boys, you know, they're everyone here at Sticky Paws Studios are awesome. Yeah. But until they saw me come do what I do, I'm just Bryan in here, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then they were like, that's our boy, you know, and that's the way we all feel about you anyway. But because you and Chase and I have had many deep conversations off the air.
We have.
Chase, that should have been filmed.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
like post-show depression is such a real thing because, you know, we'll be doing a show, we'll be getting ready for fighting and our brain will be operating at such a high level for like weeks and weeks, and then suddenly we get a moment to just like we have nothing to do, and our brain just like something chemically happens where we're just like suddenly, I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Suddenly I have no purpose.
It's so hard. And you know that you can, you just got to start working and prepping. And I saw you in another interview, like I said, in the 24-hour podcast, which kudos to everybody here at Sticky Paws for making it happen. And you came in, I stayed up all night. You were like, came in at like 2 a.m. or something, and we're on with your coach. And I saw you talk about, you know, him saying, we're getting right back at it.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna keep this going, and we're gonna get ready for the next thing and next fight, and we're all gonna be there and support and try and be that for you. But just know that dude, it was incredible to watch. It was incredible to be in your corner and be there cheering for you in person. And I said it when everything got canceled. I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be here. I was supposed to be here and get to witness this in person. Amazing. And to see that smile and to see you do your thing in person meant everything to me. And so, and then for you to jump on the podcast and
of course, man,
and share that story.
I love your energy. You have such a, not just you, but everyone here at the studio, you know,
thanks, man.
But you have such awesome energy. You're so passionate about what you do. And I can always feel your passion when you talk about music. And it's like the same thing for me, you know what I mean? It's like when you do music and I fight, and then we come here in the studio and this is like our therapy.
It is.
You know what I mean?
This is I have to come in here just to be around these guys and work. Like I could do it. I could do it at home easy, but I can sit down and put the work in right here, and it just feels good. It's another extension of ourselves. Your podcast is an extension of yourself and the type of person you are. And by the way, Randy Couture's having a ride on May 20th. It's a Extreme Couture GI Foundation, and it's a ride that, you know, ends up like having 5 or 6 stops. So if you're not training for something, you should come ride with us. Yeah. And I'm going to do the podcast from there as well, and get Randy and everyone. And and I just talked to him this morning, and so we're gonna make that happen. And I got to shout out to Reed Harris, because Reed, thank you so much. I would not have been able to go to the fight if it wasn't for you. It was very last minute. My tour gets canceled because of weather, or gets postponed, and then I reach out to him, and you know, he's a VP of UFC, and he's like, I got you. And it was VIP. I'm back there eating and stressed out, and you know.
Reed is awesome, man. He's such a nice guy, man. Reed is great. You know, I do remember, it's so crazy. I was so out of it, man. I couldn't even, like, I could barely talk, barely walk, and I remember Reed coming up to me and just like congratulating me. And that small moment, for whatever reason, I just remember him, like, he had a big smile, like, you know what I mean?
That's amazing.
I was just like so out of it, and I messaged him the next day, and I was like, hey man, like, thank you so much for congratulating me, you know?
You know what was really cool? And this goes to John. We're at dinner, and next thing he goes, hey, well, let's get up and let's go see somebody. And we go into this high roller area, and then in the little tucked away high roller area, and we're getting to go have a conversation with Dana White, you know, who's back there playing some blackjack. Yeah. You know, who hit 2 blackjacks in a row, 21, while we were standing there. We were like, whoa. Yeah. Yeah.
We were good luck.
Yeah, exactly. So it was super cool. And, but yeah, dude, I won't keep you for long, but is there anything that you want to leave?
Yes, I do. Yes. So, man, my week has just been so crazy. Sure. I've been meaning to get this damn, you know, those souvenir frames that you can put stuff in?
Yeah, the box.
Those box. I've been meaning to like order one on Amazon.
How big is this box need to be?
I knew I was going to see you, and I wanted to give you a gift, right? And the gift I was going to give you is, before you fight, they wrap your hands. Okay. And I got my hand wraps. They're bloody. You know what I mean? And I was going to put them in like this souvenir box. And
I have a box at home.
You do?
I do.
They're perfect. My week's just been, oh man.
Bro, are you serious right now?
I kid you not.
Dude. Thank you.
Of course, man. I was going to sign it.
Thank you.
Yeah, sign the box and put the hand wraps in there.
Bro, it's coming. That's going to be on my show, like every episode. All right. If you don't mind, that's going to be here.
I'll bring you the wraps if you have the box.
I have the box.
Perfect. Okay? Yes.
Dude, I have a box at home. That I was going to say, if you need a box, I got one. I got one at home for you, you know, like whatever it was. Thank you. That means a lot. Of course. That means a lot. So again, Josh, I know you're watching. This is full-blown inspiring. And here's a question I want to ask you. Because how many fights in the UFC has it been?
7. I've had 7 fights in the UFC.
Were you ever an amateur?
Yeah, I didn't have that many amateur fights. I had like 5 amateur fights where I should have had like 10 at least. You know what I mean? So I feel like I'm growing up in the UFC, which is crazy because You know what I mean? You're supposed to grow up as an amateur, and then
Right.
you turn pro, and you've learned all the lessons and the ups and the downs. But we're here now. So
You
know
have
what I mean?
Dewey now.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes.
And you had a great camp. But what was that like to get a call? What happened? How did you find out that you were going to the UFC? Walk me through that.
Man, it was a rough time in my life. You know what I mean? I
Okay.
was living with my ex, and we were going through just the craziest stuff. And we had just broken up. I had just moved out. You know, didn't have a car anymore. I was down and out. I was super depressed. I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I felt like, you know, I was like, you know, I felt like a terrible human being. And I don't know. I was just like, man, and God was just like, hey, I got something for you. 2 weeks after, you know, I moved out, kind of staying with a friend, didn't even have my own place or anything. I got a call from my manager and said, hey, Dana White's Contender Series wants to have you on, and it's going to be in about 6 weeks.
You were on that?
Yes, I was on Contender Series.
Bro, I had no idea.
Yeah, and, you know, so I get the call, and I'm like, man, like, as broken as I was at the time, I knew I had 6 weeks to give my everything, and this could change my life forever.
Right.
And I just went hard for 6 weeks. I went hard, man. The hardest I've ever. Well, no, this not the hardest I've ever. I think last camp was my hardest. But you know, I get on Contender Series, and I was fighting this dog of a person, man, just relentless.
Really?
Relentless, you know, and yeah, man, I knew how it was gonna go. Like either Dana White was gonna think I'm exciting, or he's not, and my opportunity is done, and
Right.
my road ends here. You know what I'm saying? And that was just it. I was like, man, after everything I've gone through, I just remember thinking in the back room before they were gonna call me out. And Contender Series, you walk out, there's no music playing.
No, it's nothing.
Nothing, and it's dry.
Right.
You know, and I remember in the back room, and I was like, man, I remember being in Jamaica, like, I started thinking about all the journey. Like, I had nothing, literally nothing. I was barefoot, didn't have, you know, a lot of clothes.
Wow,
My mom
bro.
was here working, making a better life, building a better life for me in order to bring me up to the United States. And I remember, like, you know, looking up at the sky, watching the airplanes fly over. Like, someday I'm going to be something great, and I'm going to get on one of those planes and go to America and do something. You know, someday. And I kept saying, someday something's going to happen. And through all the physical and mental abuse, and I just remember everything just started hitting me. You know what I mean? And I just remember thinking, like, you know what? I got to leave it all here. This is it. This is my time. If you know, if God were to give it to me, so be, and I will accept it. But if not, then I also will accept it. You know, what my fate is going to be. It's already written. All I got to do is just be calm and perform. And I went out there and just laid it all out there. Like, he tried taking me down over and over again. I just stuffed all of his takedowns, stuffed them. And, you know, he finally, I was hitting him with everything. Punches. He shot on me. I sprawled. I kicked him in the mouth, knocked his mouthpiece, went flying, like kicked him in his head, punched him, beat him up. And he just would not go away. He was like a Terminator. He just kept coming at me.
Wow.
And I'm like, man, this guy is relentless. He just kept coming. And he finally got me down with like 30 seconds left. And you know what I mean? And I knew I had already won that round, but I'm like, oh man, 2 more rounds of this is going to be, I was like, man, this is going to be a fight. And I remember thinking, like, to myself, honestly, I remember thinking to myself, like, I am completely wiped out, you know? Because the training that I had before, I think I just didn't do it right. I think I pushed when I shouldn't have, and I didn't, you know what I mean? Something. Yeah. I just was completely wiped out. And I was like, all right, man, we can do this. And he took me down. I was like, all right, time to pull out your submission game. Boom, I pulled out an armbar and I submitted him.
No way.
Yeah.
No way, dude. I thought this was going a whole nother way. I thought this is, oh, good. That's amazing.
Yeah, man. And
wow, sorry.
Dana White saw me and he's like, dude, he goes, I have that footage. He goes, man, you are going to be a problem for people in the UFC. You know what I mean? And he's like, you're gonna do some great things.
So how far did you go in the Contender?
He gave me a contract right there.
Shut up.
Yep. That night. After everything. Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro.
Yeah.
No way. All this time I know you and I don't know that. Was that where you met John, or what? Did you know John before that?
I didn't know John. I didn't meet John until about 4 years later.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, dude. Well, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Gosh, that makes me so happy, dude.
Yeah.
Well, I'm your biggest fan. Hey, Chase, do you have any questions on the air for our boy? I know we talk all the time off the air, but please fire away before we get out of here.
Yeah, man. Well, this is more of like a statement. Is like, I don't know if you've like really thought about this too much, Ode, but you've grown a lot mentally in like the past couple of months. I don't know if you even know how much it is, but it's really obvious. And I think it's like big props to Dewey Cooper. We talk about mentors all the time. And like just from our conversations from what you were talking about today with like how you got to just like trust in your spirit and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Compared to what we were talking about, like about pretty much the same thing facing our demons, like what that was maybe a couple months ago, like maybe 4 months ago.
Yeah.
Like you've grown so much, and like just being in the same room as Dewey Cooper, like you can tell how much he believes in you.
Yeah.
And I think that's rubbing off on you, and you're starting to like trust in yourself.
Yeah, because honestly,
That's amazing.
Thank you, Chase.
Thank you. Yeah.
I hadn't even recognized that I've grown or changed. You know what I'm saying? Because it's hard to reckon. I try to keep myself humble. Number one, where I try not to let myself rise up, get tall. I try to stay low. Because if you stay low, you can always improve. But if you stay tall, your cap, your ceiling is like, you know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you saying that, Chase. You know, it was really hard to have trust, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To have a new camp and to fully put my trust, and that's my fifth gym, you know?
Yeah.
My very, very first coach was the best thing that could have ever happened to me. I grew up in Florida. Then I I started wrestling in Wisconsin for college. So I graduated high school. Then I went to college in Wisconsin to wrestle. And, you know, I had to pay for college out of pocket. That first year, I did really well. I defeated the #1 ranked kid in the nation, and I couldn't pay for college anymore, so I had to stop. Found a local martial arts gym, and I talked to the coach, and he knew my situation where I didn't have a job or anything, and he's like, man, if you just come in and train, I was like, dude, I will clean your gym. I'll do anything. Just give me a chance.
My son is doing that right now. Josh, I love it. That's what Josh is doing.
That's awesome.
That's what Josh is doing. He's cleaning the mats and things at the end because he's like, I can't afford to train here as much as I do. That's amazing. That is amazing.
It'll pay off for him. You know what I mean? It'll pay off more mentally than it will physically. And Reese, his name was Reese Shaner, and he looked at me and he's like, man, like just come in and train. And I put, about a couple months in, and he's like, hey man, like, dude, I know you've never fought before, but a fight fell out. This was way back, in 2012, where they weren't so strict on stuff. They're like, hey, it was an amateur. Like a fight fell out. You wanna jump in next week and fight? I know you've never fought. He's like, but you've been putting in so much work.
Wow.
I was like, I mean, if you think I'm ready, he's like, dude,
this is
you're
like
ready.
Creed.
Yeah. and so I took the fight with a week's notice, got in there and just whooped, like just completely obliterated it. And he looked at me. And he looked at me and he said, man, someday, if you put the work in and you continue to do what you do, someday you can be in the UFC. And not only that, but you can be a UFC champion,
I believe that too, dude.
And from Florida, I didn't have much discipline. Didn't have a father figure around, so I was always like out, partying and hanging out with friends. And, I didn't have the right guidance. And he taught me discipline. He's like, you will not swear in my gym. You will not, have sexual innuendos. You will not, he had a list of rules I had to follow. You will bow before you step onto my mats, all of that. And he truly transformed me from a boy to a man, and
That's
I never, ever lost. He introduced me to God, took me to church. He was a huge fan of Harley riding.
Really?
He had a Harley as well.
We're going to get you on a Harley soon. I know. We are.
It's coming.
Okay.
And so, he was just such an inspiration. Never lost a fight as an amateur under him. Never lost a fight as a pro under him. He had some situations with his wife left him. And literally like a movie scene, he came home one day and everything was gone out of the house. No warning, no nothing. It was like a shock. It was just boom. And they've been married for 20 years. She was his world.
Wow.
And his whole life fell apart. Whole life. And he started drinking heavily. He never really drank, never. Even after wins and everything, he started drinking heavily. And, one night he was, drinking and riding, got into an accident, ended up getting killed in the motorcycle accident. And I've been going from gym to gym to gym to gym, trying to find that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Trying to find that person that cares as much as Reese did. And I found Dewey, and I was just
see it in Dewey's eyes, bro. I see it in his eyes. And we're all in your corner, dude.
Yeah.
We no joke. We're all Team O'Day.
Yeah.
And we're the Jamaican Sensation fan club. You know what I'm saying? We're your
that,
boys.
man.
But I'm proud of you, and I'm proud of you attaching that, understanding that Dewey is that person that if you believe in him, he believes in you.
Yes.
We, as Chase said, we could see it. We can hear it in his voice when he talks about you. And that's what's important. One other person before we go believes in you and me is our P Daddy, our podcast daddy, John Orlando.
John is amazing.
John
man.
has given us a chance that we neither one of us knew we would be doing this. And we have your you have your podcast and I have mine. So shout out your podcast one more time and where they can go to listen to it.
First of all, you can go to Instagram, O'Day Osbourne. I keep it short and simple. Or YouTube, Wagwan. It's WAHGAAN. Wagwan with O'Day Osbourne.
Perfect.
YouTube and Spotify.
Spotify has video now, which I love too. And so again, dude, I'm going to shout out to my sponsors real quick. Everybody who makes this possible for me. Sticky Paws Studios, as I mentioned. Action Junkies, John Orlando. Chase, my producer. I love you, dude. Thanks for putting in all the work.
Brother.
Chase the man.
And Chase and I, we want to thank SMP Inc. for being our sponsor over here, JPS Computers and Red Rock Harley Davidson. And there is a ride May 20th. Randy Couture has the Extreme Couture GI Foundation. It leaves 9:30 on May 20th, right there from Red Rock, and it ends at the Pioneer. My buddy who starts his podcast here, the Old Man Liver podcast, Steven Stotts and Stephanie own the Pioneer out there, and that's where the ride ends. To all the Rock Rage Radio listeners out there, thank you for tuning in. Thank you. I've had O'Day Osbourne on, the UFC fighter. He's coming off his just 10 days after winning at the UFC Apex right here in Las Vegas. My name is Bryan Hopkins. This is a Hero's Journey podcast. Thank you so much. Just continue to be kind and be the change, everybody. See ya. Thank you.
And I believe it's coming around to me.